My name is Kate Ryan. My pronouns are she, hers. I live in West Medford, Massachusetts, and my primary occupation is staying alive, which is a full-time job. My mother knew that something was up when I was very little, like 5 months old. She was going to doctors and saying, this baby is weird. I've had 2 other babies. This one is different, and naming all this stuff. And it was the early 80s, and the doctors were like, you're ridiculous. But then at 3, I wasn't really talking. And over the years, my diagnosis changed because the different definitions of disability were changing. And I think that I definitely didn't know anything about people with disabilities in elementary school. I just knew that I got to go and hang out with the speech therapist once in a while. By high school, I was diagnosed with what is called PDD-NOS, Pervasive Developmental Disorder Not Otherwise Specified, which is a way of saying we don't want to say autism because it was the 90s, and we don't want to say Asperger's, but here's a label. And what label you got stuck with then really depended upon things like demographics, who tested you. It was very arbitrary, which is why it's now all under the label of autism. But at some point in college, I got hooked into a disability rights group, and I began to see that I had more in common with people. Then in my mid-30s, I developed chronic pain after a back injury. And then 4 years ago, I had a spinal cord injury, and that was when I started identifying not just as an autistic self-advocate, but as somebody with a physical disability. And I would say that that's a totally different experience than the 15 years that I spent purely in the autism world. I love the disability community. It is where I am by far more comfortable. I think that I almost live in a different world than non-disabled people because the culture that I exist in and the way that I think about life and the way that I go about my daily life is so different than non-disabled people. And they don't even think about access. And I know, not because I figured this out for myself, but because I've been told that when somebody holds an inaccessible event, they aren't saying to me, I don't like you, and so we are not inviting you to this event because we don't like who you are as a person. I know this, that they aren't saying that. They're just being oblivious. But the disability community is a place where people aren't oblivious, where I can be my full self, and if I go nonverbal, which I, as many autistic people do, that is fine. If I mess up my grammar, if I say something blunt, it's the little things. And where they aren't they're going to tell me ahead of time any access barriers, because like many people who use wheelchairs, I can still walk a short distance, but I want it to be my choice. I don't want to have to be forced. And I just feel more comfortable. The sense of humor is much darker. It's much funnier, frankly. There's a lot more talk about very serious subjects very fast. It's not, there's a joke in the spinal cord injury community that you're going to be talking about bathroom stuff within 10 minutes of any group, and it's true. And it's funnier because it's our culture, and it makes you feel part of an in-group. And I can try to be part of other community groups, but they're never going to understand how much incredible effort it takes for me to do things like participate in the community or just go to a Zoom meeting, and they're never going to really appreciate how hard it is, because they're never going to bother to do the work of really Okay. With very few exceptions, they're never going to bother to do the work of trying to include me, and so I always have to overextend myself to include myself. But in the disability community, I don't have to do that.